that are collectively owned by every other person, or what is commonly referred to as the Home Owners Association, a group of people that have bought units from, or that have bought units seated on the same building, owning each unit separately, but owning these other spaces collectively. Those are the two major aspects, Barbara, that every other person needs to understand when it comes to condominium.
I would want to get to know what's the difference between that condominium and normal apartment.
Wow, that's very important, by the way, to ask, and it's a very, very good question, Barbara. But I think what a viewer needs to understand, Barbara, is that the building of an apartment for rent, or if you're building your housing developer, Barbara, and you're trying to put up apartments that are going to be let out, there's no particular design for a condominium apartment or a condominium unit, and there is no particular design for an apartment to be let out. You have an engineering background. You know very well that construction is construction. I mean, you will build normally. However, the things that differ these two, an apartment, an ordinary apartment, and a condominium unit, are things to do with, one, ownership. Condominium housing, you could come together as a group of people. Let's say you are about a group of 20 women, and you have maybe saved your money, or you have gotten your money from somewhere, and then you just want to put up this building, and you have your 20 units. So you're going to build them on top of the other, for example, or you're going to build, in the same space down, whichever design you want. And now when you build them, everyone is going to own an individual title.
So I would want to ask, if each one owns the apartment, what about the land on which it is seated? How do you, do you subdivide it? How do you do it in trying to make sure?
You're wondering how you're going to have ownership in space.
Exactly.
Okay, and the viewer is wondering the same.
Yes, exactly.
So this is what we have to understand tonight on the Property Hour, that ownership of a condominium, the Condominium Act has provided laws on which housing developers, whoever is going to develop, even if you're a group of women, still housing developers, because you have decided to build houses. And then if you're just an individual developer, or you're a company housing developer trying to put up houses to sell them to other parties, one thing you should know is that you have to follow the rules and regulations of the Condominium Act by the laws of Uganda. And these things are provided for. One, you must make sure that you are going to subdivide your big title. Just ask me, what happens to my title? Because you're so attached to it, Barbara.
Exactly.
You have saved a lot of money to make this.
People have a perception that to own something, land has to be part of it. So you explaining that is, how can we actually open our eyes that we can have an ownership of a house, or the one you're calling a condo,
and that's what
right
I'm coming,
now in Uganda.
Exactly, Barbara. That's what I was coming to. I was trying to make a viewer understand that when you have this big title, you will develop with it. It's fine. You could decide to have your titles before you develop, or you could have them after developing. So assume we don't have to. Let's build and do the titles later.
Yes.
In our scenario right now. So we are going to build a house right away, and then we are going to have maybe say 50 units seated on a big title. Now, this title in the Ministry of Lands, that is a custodian of our mother titles, or our other copies of titles, is that they have custody of this big title, and that's what they know. But when you're developing here, there are other authorities that the government has put in place to guide with planning. Let's say the municipal councils, let's say Entebbe Municipal Council, Chira Municipal Council, KCCA Planning Authority. These are where the planners are, the engineering people are, and then the town clerk as well. So these people help with the structures, structure approvals and architecture approvals. Now, these are the people where you will go to first.
For condominium titles.
Tell them that, look guys, what you approved, what I built, I think I want to make this a what? A condominium setup. Now, the moment you submit to them, they will approve. They will say, okay, fine. According to the Condominium Act, you can pass. Why? Because you have enough parking space. People can live separately, individually, in an apartment.
The law has, to what extent should a condominium accommodate the owners? Like what you say, because you talked about parking, So you're saying like each condo the law says each condo should have like 2 parkings, or what?
The law is not specific.
I want to know like more of what are those requirements for some structures
unfortunately,
to be considered for condominium?
Barbara, unfortunately, from my practice in the condominium housing, I think the law is silent on the provisions of traffic rules when it comes to a condominium setup. And I would say that's a loophole. I mean, I pray that the lawmakers can hear this tonight, because it's a loophole. People are providing parking spaces to their advantages, and these are housing developers. So we are calling out the housing developers kindly to look into these things. Now, it is also unto the planning authority to make sure that before they give you a traffic assessment certificate,
or before they approve those drawings,
before they approve them, at least let them make sure that each house has 2 parking slots. And that's what it is supposed to be, by the way, by practice, even by the planning authority. It is supposed to be that. But Barbara, from practice, I can tell you that that is not what is on the market.
So what should be on the market, not just parking space? Give us more on
it. Should be, like I just told you, it should be 2 parking slots per unit, because Barbara, nowadays, a condominium house accommodates a family. You know, by standards, we assume that a family has at least 5 heads. So that means these 5 people, perhaps there is the 2 parents, and everyone owns a car. Or even their children have a car, and those are 3 cars. Where are they going to park in this condominium setup where you have given them 1 parking space? So, to me, dear planning authorities, in case someone is listening in tonight, kindly go ahead and make sure that you do not approve these kind of drawings before you are sure of parking. So, Barbara, back to our ownership of the big title.
Yes.
Your worry was about if I have this other small unit title, and then what happens to my big title. I'm going to take you through a very simple procedure. When you submit to these authorities, they should approve, and they say, fine, you can pass. You have more than 2 parking spaces per unit. You know, you have common areas, you have a common tap, you have a common lights for security and all that. So that means you have a common playground for people to go and enjoy their lives. That means it's okay. People can come here and enjoy spaces collectively, and as well someone enjoys their space inside the house to whatever extent they need, because that is now privacy. If you encroach on it, then you're encroaching on someone's
those
right.
are some of the things that people want. If you buy condo, you know, I have all these 1,000 neighbors and thousands of owners in the same space.
Yes, Barbara. Now to emphasize more on ownership, Barbara, something that we need to understand is that when we have our separate units, Barbara, you are my neighbor, you are unit 1, I'm unit 2. Everyone has their unit title. However, the other title is still standing, because when we were subdividing, it came out and it read, Lands is very, very smart. They put it in red and they say, Barbara, the owner of block this, plot this, condominium number this, developer of 50 units. Assume I own that property, Barbara, and I want to go to a bank for a mortgage. I would not, because the bank is already aware. They're saying you are housing developer of 15. So the bank should be able to ask themselves, who are the owners of the 50 units? And what happens this title? Is it going to be a mighty title just there holding that name? No. Later on, when you all buy, the law says if it is above 50% and the housing developer has sold more than 50%, the owners should come together and form what we call a home owners association. So when you form the HOA, that means you are in position to go ahead and claim ownership of the big title from the developer. So Barbara, just like I mentioned that we had Barbara, the housing developer of 50 units, we are going to cancel. Same red pen. And then we are going to have you entered in black. That now you are the home owners.
Your homeowners association.
In ownership.
In ownership, yes.
But it should always stand, and it should always indicate that at least this development has 50 units. However, the ownership page will change. And it will come from the housing developer to now homeowners. So legally, this is a communal property.
Okay, so you own that whole property communally?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I would want to know, how long can someone like own a condominium? Wow.
Now it goes back to our land systems in Uganda, Barbara, because legally the constitution provides for about 4, and that is the private milo, that is the leasehold, freehold, you know, and the customary land. Now, what happens is that if the housing developer bought this property on a lease, then definitely the condominium titles,
is also a lease.
And then we got the laws of of lease ownership. If you're a foreigner, you're free to own. If you are a Ghanaian, you're still free to own. But then a foreigner, by individual names, cannot own a private minor title unless they have part of a company, which is also having a majority shareholder as a Ugandan. That's when you can own this property as a company.
So because people would wonder, is a condominium a leasehold? Is it?
It's everything.
So it's like, it depends on the kind of ownership, the original land ownership.
Exactly.
My understanding.
Yes.
So because it's good to clear, because some people never get to know what the interest in that land for the developer, and I think you should now help us encourage what should a buyer look out for, especially when they are trying to buy this condominium.
That's a very beautiful question, Barbara. And I always call upon the housing developers, especially the Ugandan housing developers, to take it upon themselves to educate the Ugandans of what they are going to buy. Because if you are a Ugandan and you want to buy this house, what should you look out for? Number one, confirm whether this is a condominium property. By ownership, run a search at lands, because there should be a condominium number. So if you run a
search at lands, it gives you the owner.
It will give you the developer's name. Okay. It will give you the condominium number.
Okay.
Which makes it a condominium. Yes. Now, the moment at conversion, like I told you, is an example of when people first build and then they convert. Now, at conversion, you get a condominium number. Okay. Now, that is by law what is called a condominium.
Oh.
Because otherwise, I'll have my beautiful apartments, well furnished, and I'll come and I say, hey, there are condominium apartments. Please buy one. Give me 300 and take this. I'll give you the key. You'll be in for a year or two, but then you'll never have this title. So make sure there's a condominium title and run a search with the Ministry of Lands and be able to confirm that, hey, this is a condominium title with a registered condominium number.
Quite interesting what we are learning about condominium, because personally, you know, I would want to dig deep and know more before I make out that purchase. Let's go for a short break and we'll come with more on this program.
Lulu Residency in Munyonyo is the latest apartmentalized project by HK Properties. This state-of-the-art residency that has tipped the architecture scale in Uganda has 2 to 3 bedroomed apartments at modest rents. Scheduled payments can be arranged to fit your budget. For more information or booking, please call 0758 274 389.
We are still at Property Hour, and we are talking about condominium concepts in Uganda. It's everywhere, and we want people to understand, can they be part of it? So what are the things to look out for?
And then, Barbara, something that you need to, also you as a home buyer, need to look out for, just like any other building, technicalities. Look up, just run a structure integrity report, Barbara. How was this building put in place? Get a structure engineer. Let them confirm with you that this structure, because Barbara, me and you were not there when this property was being built, but want to come and purchase at our convenience. We can't be sure what is this, these walls we are sharing, the slabs. So just run a structure integrity report. Look around things like the drainage system. How are they? Because Barbara, you don't want to be in an apartment where there is a poor drainage system.
True.
It is not even accommodative at all.
It becomes a nuisance eventually for the community.
Yes, even for the community at large. It's not habitable at all. So look out for the habitual factors in a property that at least, even if it was your own home, separate home somewhere, you could enjoy it. So the fact that you're in a condominium setup, it should not be inconvenience. It should be instead the most beautiful space to stay in compared to even
you've talked about like
separate home.
Owning these condominiums, but now once I've owned my own condominium and another person is below me, and probably the upper person wants to demolish or wants to do changes to the condominium, to what extent is that allowed or curbed, especially in condominium development?
Well, just like every other project, Barbara, there are changes. They could be in place as long as, there are control measures in place that are followed. Now, with a condominium, the kind of control measures are on the exterior of the structure, the elevation of the whole building and everything. Now, when you are going to make changes, if it is your interior, and you want to change the painting, you want to break your kitchen and make it half, you thought it was a full, a closed kitchen, and you want to make it an open kitchen or half kitchen, whatever you want to make it, the concept that you would love. okay because it is your house. However, any other interior change that you're putting in place
like
should not affect the structure. Exactly. Should never affect the structure of the house, because Barbara, if you tamper with the home of this house, definitely you know what will happen too.
Exactly.
On a house. Now, ideally, it is not acceptable at all. Totally unacceptable to break your house. Like you assume you're like me, I'm done. I want this house off. You guys stay there. Like I'm just imagining, Barbara. This is a whole block, and then someone on you in the middle, like something like Unit 9 says no. I don't want to be part of this condominium setup. I'm so tired of the condominium charges in this place. Let me break and I go away. Totally unacceptable. And this also is governed by the law, Barbara. Just a minute, Barbara. It is governed by the law because there are management rules. There are condominium management rules. You sign them before you're part of this. Even if you bought, you must abide by the rules.
No, it brings me to a very interesting question, because when many people buy a condominium, they think once they've paid the cash down and that's the end of it. You've talked about charges, you know. What do they need to know about these extra things that they need to be a part of?
Barbara, a good housing developer, a good Ugandan housing developer is going to guide their condo home buyer from day one. They'll tell them what is ahead of time. They'll prepare them and they'll tell them, it's okay, you'll pay your money and you'll come the homeowner by law. However, you must live and abide by the rules of the condominium community. And this is how it is done, dear viewer. You have to make sure that you read through the management rules. The Condominium Act has put them clearly. For example, you should communally clean the place. You should communally maintain the place. You should communally safeguard the place. That means you should have a security guard. That means you should have a cleaning service in place. That means you should have lights on for security purposes. If it's cameras installed, whatever. If you have a swimming pool, it is clean. You know, that kind of thing. Why? Because it should be a habitable home. Just like your home. Imagine, Barbara, at home. Don't you pay your maid?
Sure.
Don't you pay a guard?
Of course.
Doesn't the garbage collector come and take money and you pay them? The same things. Carry them to the condominium community.
Because I'm sure there are some big-headed...
Now, Barbara, you don't
need... condominium owners who don't want... Who say that once they've paid the condominium off those charges, you know. But it's good for us to know, so that whoever is out there and is holding a condominium, you make it easy for the rest of the people living in that same space, isn't it?
I remember, to be honest with you, that is what happened. That is the order of that. That's the practice in the market space. You don't want to cross over the management of the condominium. The person talking to you right now has been there, and it is the worst experience on earth. These are elite people. But trust me,
that's why we're sensitizing people out there that if you're purchasing a condominium, you need to know that above and beyond purchasing it, you have to pay garbage fees and all those fees, because you're living in an association.
Exactly.
So I have understood the charges like now for me, but I'm sure there are people who never appreciate the fact that those spaces need be kept.
I think, Barbara, it's about sensitizing these people. People should just have to know. And also, that's like I told you, a good Ugandan housing developer should prepare these people ahead of time. But also, maybe just to help enlighten on something important, Barbara, to our viewer, is that this condominium charge is not set by the government of Uganda. It is not set by the housing developer.
Wow.
It is not set by any person. It is set by the owners.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Through the association of registration, through the homeowners association, you sit down and agree. Come on, we stay in Kololo. How much do you think this house should go? I mean, we are getting 2,000 USD per month. Honestly, this place should be neat 247. The kind of lighting should be that end. You get? Okay, let's just pull 150 per month USD or 100 USD, and we are catering for all this. Come on, Barbara. Me, I stay in Ichitukutwe. For example, honestly, come on. I am getting only UGX 1 million. So how do you expect me to bill 100,000 USD for this? No, let's just collect Uganda shillings 50,000 and then we communally manage the place. So it goes back to the owners and their kind of standards that they are living in.
It enlightens especially people who are out there who want to make investments. Because I'm thinking, a condominium, if I'm in Kololo, when will I ever own land in Kololo?
Sure.
how much time do I need to save to own land in Tinda? Or do I opt for going very far off, say Gayaza Zero Way, to find the land that I want and the money I have but how long will it take me to get from Zero Way to Kampala to work? You know, it's quite the distance, the time and the time of investment, and yet with just one purchase, it opens very many opportunities.
Wow. So, Barbara, I could sum up all this by telling the viewer that what makes it a condominium is the kind of ownership and management. As simple as that. The rest is everything else, the same as building any other house.
Wow. So would you encourage actually someone to get involved in condominium development?
Absolutely. With the spaces now, with even the way people, I mean, the kind of population that we have, I mean, we have a deficit has shoot, as of this year, it has shoot to 250,000. And we are on 47 million population. What are we waiting for? Let's shoot to the sky.
You know, there are many people who have actually built apartments, but now they wish actually to turn these apartments into condominiums. How do they begin? Yes, they've already made that decision, but now they feel like, okay, what if I turn them into condominiums?
The conversion by law is okay. Even when you have built, you can always convert. I talked about it in the beginning. You can always convert and turn the building into a condominium.
Viola, thank you so much for sharing this whole information with us. And I'm sure the viewers out there, you've been enlightened to the most extent to know what is it about condominiums, the condominium law. You know, how do you live in a condominium setting and be able to thrive as a person? And here at Property Hour, we are always ready to give you all the information you need regarding real estate and construction.
The Property Hour is informative, inclusive, and up-to-date. Proudly powered by HK Properties.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say